We have been doing this, and this is why we are so happy to say yes to NATO anytime they need a modest partner like ourselves for such events, because there is still unfinished business from Warsaw. That was a remarkable summit. It was for the first time that we showed as an alliance that despite many complicated issues, we are able to show strength, to project force, to deter, and to act as an alliance. I would say this is the first test since 9/11, since the alliance has really shown action, putting money on the table, and projecting the kind of fundamental need for the alliance to show that in times of severe threats and aggressive powers and aggressive change of international order in our region and beyond our region, the alliance is there. It's capable, it's strong, and united. This is absolutely a superb test. But for Romania, for the Black Sea region, as we know, there is unfinished business. I would like to thank officially on my behalf, and I think I can speak on behalf of Florin Iordache and Tataru, us in the political establishment of this country, the Ministry of Defense of Romania. Because what Minister Motok and his colleagues will be trying to achieve at the NATO ministerial in October is to see also on the Black Sea side, on the southern part of the eastern flank, additional progress and additional commitments in a difficult moment, political and strategic moment. This is a way for us to say thank you to our men and women in uniform, to the men and women in the intelligence community of Romania. They continue to be an elite of our establishment, and we are privileged to be modest partners to all of you. So that's the first point. Warsaw Summit is not the end point, it's the beginning of the reaffirmation of NATO as the premier and prime alliance, not only in history, but also on this very turbulent planet that all of us are living into. The second point I would like to make, and this is something that is critical for Romania this time, and I think for countries like Romania that share our concerns about threats, diversified threats, combination of political, strategic, economic, migration, and other kind of threats. We have been adopting two key decisions on defense and national security in the last few months. First is the National Defense Strategy, which is, constitutionally speaking, the document. And I have to say that I'm pleased, as a professional, that it seems that we start having a little bit more discipline and structured conversation about the implementation of a very lofty document that the Parliament of Romania, and Florin is here to say, we are adopting documents, but in fact the problem is not to write a document. Sometimes it's the problem to write a document, but this time it's a solid document, like our Polish friends had a few years ago, a similar document. The question is implementation, execution, programming, budgets, forecasting security environments that are shifting. So my point is the following. I don't think it's wise and practical for us to have one national project for the country that the president and other political parties, all political parties basically, endorsed, and to have a grand plan for Romania for the next number of years, which is something great, and I salute. I've been working on this. Aspen Institute has been working on this since our inception 10 years ago. And to have a separate process with a national defense strategy. That's part of one thing. That's one Romania. And security and economic development, security and fight against corruption and good governance, security and cyber defense, security and health, education and agriculture, security and critical economic resilience. They're part of one thing. They're not two separate tracks. We might have separate actors, but the process should be one. Because the problem in Romania is not the level of ambition, it's the capacity to deliver on the ambition we propose to ourselves. It's still a country with a poor capacity to implement strategies. It's a country that has so much untapped potential that sometimes it's frustrating for us to see how much waste of talent, opportunity, and reputation in the end, and influence that a country like Romania has. And I think I share this with most of my fellow countrymen and countrywomen around this table. 2% of GDP for defense. In numbers, for the decade between 2018 to 2028, this is 50 billion euros. That's a lot of money even by American standards. That's a lot of money. And this is money that I want to see as a citizen and a taxpayer invested wisely and with ripple effects beyond sheer defense. I think Romania has the obligation today to make the best use of this, to become the best possible force, and to have the best possible posture, and to have the best possible outcomes of the money we invest. And this is a must. And I think there is no political party, at least today in Romania, that would question this commitment. This is about our supreme national interest. This is not about politics. So we'll stay the course on this one. But as the Ministry of Defense, again, thank you guys, is helping with a major technology project south of Bucharest around this huge physics accelerator, which is the largest in Europe, and they are helping with creating an environment for technology and transfer of technology, diffusion of technology towards the civilian sector of our economy. I think we have to become a little bit smarter. And not our people in uniform, but us, the ones who are the decision makers, because it's a pity to invest so much in one sector and not to have the ripple effect in the rest of the economy. I think this is something I would like to mention as well. Third thing, the kind of threats we are facing today have gone way beyond the traditional, what we say, asymmetrical warfare, or the green guys, or the yellow guys, or whatever color special forces, or whatever kind of uniform special forces might have. Today we have breached a frontier which had never happened before. Foreign forces and nations are interfering with the politics of other countries. They are hacking servers of political parties in the US. They are funding for years political parties in Europe. And as a true Democrat and a true believer in the Western liberal values of our alliance in the end, and of human beings, I cannot stop from being concerned when I see the results of local elections in Germany or Berlin or in France. I see, and I know, and we know, we are professionals, aren't we, that some of these parties have been funded illegally from the outside. And I'm very, as still a politician, I'm a little bit amused that somebody might believe that there is not a payback that those politicians and those political parties will owe to the sponsors of those political entities. This is serious, guys. This is not a joke. This is one of the other frontiers, unspoken and unwritten in the charter of NATO or anything else, that have been crossed. And we have to be careful, because this is about influencing the political direction of nations and the integrity of political and democratic processes inside our alliance. That's a big threat. A last point about European defense versus NATO and the transatlantic link. This is a subject that cannot be taken lightly. You cannot announce a decision to be part of such an exercise without exceptionally profound and open conversation within NATO. I was foreign minister of my country a number of years ago when the common defense and security strategy and the idea of an European independent defense structure was debated, sometimes with rhetoric violence within the EU and with more gentle touch within NATO. I say that Europe needs to do more. I say that Europe needs such a structure. But I would be wary of the idea that the European Union is not capable today, for reasons that I understand, and I hope we'll be able to overcome, on basically nothing of the rest of the problems that we have. And this European defense identity becomes the only rescuer of the European unity. This is a disbalance that I think should be addressed more carefully. We need European defense. I think Romania is wise to invest in this. I think it's good for us to stay together in Europe. I think we have to become stronger allies of America and Canada in many ways. But let's not forget about the politics of Europe and the huge centrifugal tendencies and fractions and frictions and divisions in Europe. And let's not believe that this is the rescuer of Europe. This is one of the ingredients for a strong Europe. It's not a substitute for a Europe in 27. And let's not underestimate the huge impact of the departure of the UK, when and if this will happen, on the transatlantic link. Brexit is a physical, and other than the conversation, which will be cumbersome and long and nasty, I'm afraid, on the security and strategic and political thing, staying close to the UK is something that we need. Staying close to our friends in Turkey, despite these exceptionally complicated times, is something we need to do. We need Turkey. We have the obligation not to forget about Ukraine. This is not the Vogue. This is not the fashion magazine that if it's not in the news, it means that Ukraine becomes less relevant for all of us. Not to speak of Moldova, which is entering now in the next few months into one of the most complicated times of its recent sovereignty acquired some 25 years ago. I will close here in saying that I welcome such a conversation because these are top professionals, these are top thinkers, these are the ones who are shaping decisions. And I cannot say how privileged the Aspen Institute in our 10th already year of existence is to be your partner and a modest host. I thank Andrei and our wonderful team for working day and night for such a conference. And again, Sorin Ducaru, Florin Iordache, thank you so much for giving us this thing.